Dear friends, good afternoon. We're beginning an online session of the Secret Doctrine. We welcome everyone who was able to join. Together we are one team today, and it's very important because by focusing our thoughts, by being together, when we work in one area, this enables us to get closer to the cause. The Secret Doctrine, written by Elena Petrovna, was written so that we would understand this cause. And when we understand the cause, then the consequences become obvious for each consciousness. Dear friends, we congratulate everyone. Today we're studying the fourth Sloka of the second stanza. We know that there are three Dzyan stances, three non-reflected planes, and they're very difficult to explain. And we'll try to get closer to the understanding, to the cause, and we'll see how the key points can be seen in one system, within one system, if we have the foundation of understanding, if our consciousness does not focus on various sources of information, on the various fragments, but understands everything in a consolidated way, that enables us to see the cause of everything. There are three Dzyan stances, and they tell us about the cause. It's the first volume of Cosmogenesis. It's the most complicated for understanding. There are very few consciousness that are getting closer to the studies of the Secret Doctrine that get inspired by this doctrine. But today we can see a trend in the international society, a community, that the studies of this doctrine has become trendy. Even the mentioning of the Secret Doctrine gives you a lot of likes on your page and social media. But our school is based on the systematic, classical, traditional studies of this material. We start with a foundation, and then we can work with this information, we can live with it, we can develop using this information. And this thought itself, when we say that it's important to work on this material together, it makes us more focused. It attracts abstract thoughts that get concrete in our physical realm. They attract these energies. But of course, our individual work, our individual meditation is a particular kind of work. And we always focus on that because it's the individual work of each of us that enables us to get closer to this cause. Dear friends, together we have the team of interpreters with us, and I'd like to introduce them to you: Ksenia Persova, Yulia Lazareva, Tatiana Kostenko, and Polina Romanchova. Thank you so much for your participation, for your efforts. And of course, we thank everyone for your work, for the work that you're going to conduct during the whole seminar. And of course, we extend particular gratitude to our technical support for the assistance, for the implementation of this project. Thank you, everyone who's able to join us and who, by their consciousness, has expressed their interest in the Secret Doctrine. The study of the second shloka, her heart had not yet opened for the one ray to enter, thence to fall, as 3 into 4 into the lap of Maya. We are declaring open the online class of the Secret Doctrine. And now I give the floor to Vladimir Yarov. He's the psychologist, the head of the Theosophy School, the city of Moscow. Good afternoon, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start, as per tradition, our class with the thought of the day. Elena Petrovna gives us this thought of the day, and the thought is the following. Learning clears the mind, and ignorance cobwebs it. Everything seems very clear. And this thought gives us the most important point. Learning clears the mind. It means that all of us need to strive to get closer to that, to this kind of learning. And first of all, I'd like to draw your attention to the point of learning about yourselves. That is what clears the consciousness, the mind. And this thought of the day is what we take right now for our individual creative work, because we need to become independent, self-reliant. We need to be able to open the essence of things for ourselves, to discover it for ourselves. And this thought enables us to understand that ignorance is the spider web that makes our mind limited. Striving is the movement, but ignorance is the limitation of the consciousness. It makes it motionless. In other words, it makes us dumb. In order to continue developing and improving our form of mind, consciousness, and I'd like to stress it, the form of consciousness, because the view of the world, of course, builds the form of the consciousness. And if we look at the research of the second stanza of the fourth Sloka, stanza Ziyan, then we'll be able to see a very important point. Her heart hadn't yet opened for the one ray to enter, thence to fall, and as 3 into 4, into the lap of Maya. It sounds great. Why? First of all, we start asking the question, why hasn't her heart opened yet for the ray to enter? And to answer this question, I'll try to express my thoughts, my ideas regarding that. The reason is that the breathing in hasn't finished yet. It just hasn't finished yet. And due to that, the concentration of the ray hasn't happened yet. It's not the time yet. You can say that we are at the second stanza of the nature of the mind, and this nature of the mind accumulates various forces. What are these forces? It's the ability to understand, the ability to identify and detect, the learning abilities. These learning abilities they haven't become focused yet during the process of breathing in. Once there is this focus, when they become focused, they turn into a ray. And then this ray falls as 3 into 4 into the lap of Maya, as the phrase says. Here we need to understand that the formula 3 into 4 works. Why? The spirit wants to get manifested. Its characteristics and its nature are drawn towards the manifestation, but in order to get manifested, you need the form. The form needs to be created. Only through the form, the spirit will be able to manifest. Otherwise, the spirit cannot be manifested. It doesn't have any form. And due to that, we can see that 3 into 4, 3 hasn't fallen into 4 yet. It hasn't fallen into the lap of Maya, because 4 is the symbol of Maya, the great Maya, the form of 4. And 3 is the symbol of spiritual concentration, of this fire that is the potential ray. This potency will be gathered and it will become the luminum. And only in this case, the necessary emanation will take place. It will be the radiation that will get its form and shape. And once this form will be attributed to this ray, to the spirit will immediately obtain a necessary characteristic. It's the characteristic of being deep within Maya. It's the future. It's the future. And these are the lies that we tell ourselves. And this formula works on all planes of the existence. The 7 must get their own form, or 3 must fall into 4. It's the chimerism, and once it takes place, then we can have the possibility to emanate towards the next plane. The consciousness gets deeper and it gets closer to the land, to the earth. And this earth is the spirit and the element. The spirit of the earth element is the crystal. And this crystal is of cubical form, cubical shape rather. This cubical shape of the crystal, of this substance, of the spatial substance, is latent. And it's waiting only for the ray. And the ray appears once the consciousness gets the necessary level of concentration, which enables us to notice the reality. It's the state of being conscious. And only in this case, we can obtain the necessary form. And this form is the element. The element of the crystal. The spirits of the elements are the nature, and nature is the beauty. And its beauty is in the radiance of crystals. But the radiance of the crystals should be evoked only by consciousness. When the planes of the existence happen, when 3 fall into 4, then we can get the balance of the material and of the spirit. And that happens on all the planes, not on one plane of existence, but on all planes. And that's how emanation happens.
And at each level, 7 of which there are, and I'm now speaking about the material formations. Look here. Here is the level of material formations. And at this level of material formations, it contains the order of these crystals, the crystals of material, of spatial material, which in fact shows the spirit of the elements. And in its essence, they personify both the male and the female starts. So the advantage and the disadvantage. And altogether, we see the spirits of the elements. There are 5 of them. There are 5 Buddhas and 5 Tara, the spirit and the materia. Therefore, each of the elements is a personified spirit of the element, one who has come alive. So it becomes alive. Now, the first element is like a brick, which is one of those that constitute the shape. And so we see here 5 spirits of the elements which form the astral body. Next goes the body of the feelings, our ability to feel and to understand. So if we consider ourselves, our nature, to be one of the first elements, then the first element will be a very pure astral body, very pure. But the conscience, human conscience, is imperfect. And due to its imperfection, it begins to change the first elements, to distort it. And how does it distort it? Due to the fact of insufficient knowledge, this web of mind, which means lack of knowledge, which means ignorance. And it leads to violence against the first element. Therefore, there is some pressure exerted on the spirits of the elements, that is, on the spirit of fire, because the spirit of this element is fire. But it is the potential notion of a great power which builds first and foremost through its reflection, builds the necessary form for its evolution. This is a vision. Through this form, 3 gets into 4. It permeates 4. Now imagine that the elements require attention, conscious attention. Now animals, when they see elements of the spirits of the elements, they see this as animals. Humans are seen in human image. Like the third eye in human figure. When the third eye opens, its function is, this is what the person sees. And the spirits of nature themselves, these crystals get excited. According to what does this happen? According to the element to which humans belong, which are born in a certain element, and according to this element, they impact the spirit of the element. That is the first thing through which humans can influence and awaken the evolution of this spirit of the elements. When a person understands this process, they can control the impact in this world with their feelings. So through the feelings, they bring knowledge, which is the closest to the fact when a human consciously and responsibly treats his or her thoughts. In other words, the thought is a material notion. That's our thought. So the thought creates a mental image, and the image is where 3 falls into 4. And again, our mentality, human mentality, is based on the same thing. And in order to live in harmony with the nature of objects, a person needs to be responsible and conscious. That is what creates the new astral body. The new astral body is created definitely by conscience, and conscious understanding is the essence of human nature, or the nature of human spirit. Now, the spirit of the element and the spirit of man, the notion is the same. It is the nature of fire, but in a human, free will is added. So by class, humans are higher than the spirit of nature, while in reality, the spirit of nature is superior over man. They cannot manage as long as the person has their own spirit, as long as his or her own spirit lights up and blends with the nature of things. And then the element is subsequent, it bows down before the nature of man. It is submissive. This is my understanding of falling into the lap of Maya. You all know that what Maya is, that it is an illusion basically, and that human mentality impacts it. Now, if we take the plans of being, let's see the levels of being, the planes. And at the level of pre-images, this is the level of pre-images, here we can say that human achievements of human genius, which can be called nirvana or maybe enlightenment, we take this and we fold it like a sheet of paper. We fold what is separated by this notion, and we will see that the world of the spirit outside the forms is turned upside down versus human conscience and its nature. They're turned over because once we fold it, we see that it has turned over. And it so happened. Same as with people. When a baby is born, they see the world upside down. They come from the world of spirits. And the world is totally upside down. So until the world is focused, they will not see the dense forms. The same happens with the planes of being. In our conscience, it is required to go from the united form, from the world of forms without spirit, or outer spirit, from perceiving the emptiness, one's own mind, its pureness, its thought. We go from this elevated thought to things which are parts, from the whole to the part. Only this is how we can perceive ourselves, to the minute parts. This is the holy formula according to which teachers select pupils for themselves. Ability to think in analogies from the whole to the particular features. If the student has such a feature, they are taken. Now, if the person does not have this feature, then we need to walk along this rake, maybe, to suffer and to get adjusted. Now, according to the thought of the day and the stanza for the end, which tell us today that Maya or ignorance covers us, we achieve the combination of Nidan, understanding what the element is, what the spirit of element are. For you, the elements will be something which is separate. We shall talk about elements which are colored by Nidan. As you know, each color has its crystal. So we are currently in the constellation of Aquarius. Aquarius, it is a stage of development which starts the Satya Yuga, and this Satya Yuga opens an opportunity for humanity to create an astral body which would be balanced, which would require the fiery element. So it should already wake up. 3 should awaken in the 4. The conscience should awaken. And through this awakening, it should be formed according to the laws of nature, which bear the essence of truth. And according to this truth, we need to sound in unison with the spirit, opening the spirit in us, with the help of which we can join with the nature of fire. And in this case, the formation will be, we shall build a temple of our soul according to the needs of our time, this time of transition, starting a new race of humanity, which requires a new astral body. And according to the same astral body, if we wake up our mentality, definitely at the same time we wake up the fiery nature of the thinker, because fire is the essence of mind, its feature, its harmony, its intention, its need, and its expediency, owing to which the wheel of the law turns. Our century is a century of the white dragon. The white dragon is in the constellation of twins, or Gemini. Air is a symbol, if we take it as an element. It is a very flexible element. And definitely, air as a crystal is called an octaeder. And this crystal is what we need to wake up with our spirit. By impacting the spirit of the element, we, with our own willpower, with our conscious activity, are able to think correctly, that is, to meditate, because this is the ability, the creative opportunity for humanity, how a person creates. And the white dragon is a symbol of wisdom. It goes under the ray of Saturnus, and its element is ether.
Ether has the dodecahedron as a crystal. The dodecahedron is a structure with 12 facets. It includes certain pentagrams, and they are symbols of 5 elements. And a dodecaeder is the essence or concentration, the focus of all elements. 4 main elements: water, air, earth, and fire. And it is concentrated and accumulated in all these elements are concentrated in the dragon. It expresses the thought that is formed by the nature. So ether has the properties of some conscious elements, which means that it includes an idea an idea brought to him by 4 elements. I would put it that way, not lower elements, but just elements. They have their own functions. Earth has such certain function, and it was created as the highest function because it's the nature of mind, the nature of it that is manifested through the human consciousness that creates Earth as an element. So white dragon symbolizes the fact that we have to be wise, we have to collectively create ideas and forms that corresponds to the nature of things or to the evolutionary process. We have the year of black tiger. It is in the Scorpio constellation. The Scorpio constellation has boar, which is Hierophant of this sector. Black tiger, it's a symbol of our year. It's in the beginning of this sector, as you see. The tiger is in the same cross as the boar. Tiger, a snake, monkey, and boar. This is the cross of our year, the current year. We have the water as our element. The black tiger symbolizes it, the water that has icosider as its crystal. The spirits of water includes potentiality that is waked consciously. Here, conscious and spiritual humans should be born. The process is conscious because consciousness requires water in order to manifest the spirit. In order to manifest the consciousness, we need a water form. Tiger plays its role here. The whole world is reborn right now. It's a unique time, a unique era when the whole world is reborn. It was promised to us from the ancient times in Puranas, in Vedas. Those events have been predicted and we are living through that. So, right against a tiger, we can see a monkey, black monkey. It is a symbol of a human, a beautiful human being that has the sense of beauty. Madame Blavatsky once mentioned that hardly anybody had this feeling of beauty. The golden section, it is perceived uniquely by everyone. That is why the thoughts that wander around is fine for somebody. They think that they live a good life, but only by thinking consciously and solemnly can we create beauty or harmony. And monkey here represents harmony. It's the opposite of our year of black tiger. And there is also a fiery snake in this cross and the fiery boar. They are on the line of this cross. And this line is opened by the constellation of Aquarius, a fiery conscious and fiery spirit. This is a certain crystal which is called tetrahedra. The spirit of elements of tetrahedra creates a human, which is the essence of the first elements. A white dog is here. It is right next to the white dragon, and it is under the space line or space ray. So look at this. It's the principle number 44. We see 4 figures here that include 8 in themselves. 8 is a right perpetual motion. White dog has resilience in itself. It's in perpetual motion of life, and it can create and the wisdom of being. And against it, we see the white dragon. White dog is naturally in the constellation, in the certain constellation, or rather in constellation of Sagittarius, that has the 3rd fire in itself, which means that it is fiery sign as well. And it has conscious origin in itself. This spirit today should be manifested and expressed in the human being, in the personality. So this personality should understand ideas of evolutionary development and understanding of self. It should be in itself. The week is the week of a red horse, which is the symbol of justice of spirit. It is the last sign here in this constellation of Scorpio. We see the symbols of weeks here, and they cover the whole essence of this sign of zodiac. The essence of this sign is to be justified and just in the spirit. The spirit should be manifested, and the spirit means consciousness, which means that consciousness should be related to justice of the higher law as well, which is represented by a hierarchical origin for a human being. So this is the form that you have seen. Now moving on to the blue dog, the day of blue dog. It represents the opposite of the blue dragon. This dog is in the 2nd stanza of the 1st Sloka, and we see the perfect appropriate form here. We can just count from the fiery hare here, from the fiery rabbit. So it's the 8th Nedan. So as I said, it's 4 figures. The spirit is formed initially, and its first manifestation is individuality, and it emits into something in creating personality. So the dog includes 2 forms in itself, the higher manas and the lower manas. But the lower manas can be called antaharana, which means spiritual potency. So personality includes individuality and spiritual potency. So it's like Christ and Antichrist. It's a combination of forms. So what can I add here? the dog in this cross with the blue dragon with a yellow sheep and a yellow bull, which is represented by Adam or spiritual human. And here we see also the golden section of the wheel of time. The androgen that we see here, the spiritual human being, today works in its own beginning of eternity, the blue dog. The blue dog represents eternity. And the blue dragon for the bull represents nirvana. Against we see the god, which represents pleasure or joy. So three principles fall into four principles, into the yellow bull. The dog, the god, and the dragon created an androgyne form of the spiritual human being, of an Adam, of a Christ, or a Buddha, call it as you like. So three forms fall into four. And today we talk about that, write about that, by studying the second stanza of the four Sloka. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for an interesting topic. And there were some ideas that you talked about from a different standpoint. So the idea of the Nidana, of the idea of the day, and how it's connected to Shloka and Stanza, you can find, and there's lots of different nuances that can become a different research topic. And you know, this idea flows in such a way that this rhythm manifested in the words, so connected to the idea conveyed by the synthesis of Nidana, the ray, the energy of the day, week, month, era. And when we try to understand the secret doctrine in this perspective, we have a point that allows us to understand it better. This thread that allows us to connect the higher and lower matters, the manifested idea and the action, the word, said or not said, and so on. And this thread is so thin that it depends on your psychic energy, so you need to be in tune with common understanding. And that's why we have Theosophy, for all of us to work in the same direction. And in this united, we will be able to make this thread of understanding stronger. And so, you know, you can discuss, but when you try to understand this idea, you don't even have any points where you question them. There are lots of nuances that you try to understand during this. And while you're thinking about it, you're understanding this idea better. You know, there are different types of people that talk during conferences. There are presenters that go from citations and they don't assimilate the idea behind the citations. They are not flexible. So it's hard because the idea seems immovable and you can't understand it because this is a dead energy. There's no movement in it. And this energy doesn't inspire you to move yourself. And you become dumber at this moment. And there is such a condition of understanding when you have lived through all of these points and you have worked and you have an honest discussion with yourself. It's simple, there's no complications, but it brightens up you, your mind, and makes it clear that there are no difficult ideas because they are alive and you can understand, you can see them. So I thank Vladimir Vasilievich for being a good speaker that can liven these ideas and share this live energy that helps people to understand the ideas better. And when your own thoughts come to life. So, dear friends, I would like to propose that I see that you have questions and raised hands because we are working live. So all of your questions, your opinions and comments, I implore you to write them in Zoom. At the bottom bar, you have questions and answers. You can tap that button and type your questions. We will answer them at the end of our conference. If we don't have enough time, we will answer them in on our website, on the comments, and have a quiz of the main seminar. So we have prepared a presentation, of course, where we wanted to highlight the key points and to show you their content. So unless we take a closer look at each of the parts of all the of three stanzas, we won't be able to understand them because thoughts are very concrete. Your happiness, your doubts, suffering, these are all feelings. To understand the secret doctrine through your feelings, you need a certain amount of pressure. So we want to go through some key points that will help you understand or give you a new systemic approach to the aspects and points of the method that will form your question mark into and this single dot can become plural. And when you enter this mindset, you'll be able to understand, because when you have a question, you are divided. You have different points, you divide and you ask questions. And the answer gives you a concrete idea and closes this question for you, while the secret doctrine gives you answers and give you a better understanding. I see that in your comments or your opinions, you use this method and you use an ellipsis in all of your writings. So today, we wish you to have this ellipsis in your mind instead of a question mark. So this is a presentation of the second stanza and third shloka of Елена Blavatsky. Her heart had not yet opened for the one ray to enter, thence to fall, as three into four, into the lap of Maya. And in the very text of Dzyan, the whole mystery of this event is told. And basically, we don't have to talk about this. We don't need to go deeper, because this text contains all the necessary answers. And this is what we're going to do, to understand this idea through the main text, the text of Dzyan, what it contains in itself. So we are talking about when her heart had not yet opened, who her, Matripadma, and Matripadma is the mother of Logos, the womb of nature. And in different contexts, Elena Blavatsky talked that Matripadma is an eternal ego, and it will become periodic when the ray one of the Logos pierces the latent germ in the Matripadma, which is the egg, a kind of a book of the universe. And in the Secret Doctrine, we find the definition of the word Matripadma, where Ma is a symbol of water, 3 is the symbol of the triangle, and Padma is the lotus. So Matripadma, so this bowel of nature, the mother of logos, can be understood like this. And when we talk about the heart of Matripadma that has not yet been opened yet, the space of Matripadma isn't susceptible to the physical understanding of the logos and the anima mundi world soul of Allah, the male aspect. And when the hour strikes, the aspects of the male aspect and female aspect will happen when the hour strikes, and the heart of Matripadma will open. So what does this mean? How does this happen? Let's see and try to analyze it. In the beginning, the space of Matripadma must become susceptible to the imprints of divine thought, to fohatic typos. So it must reach full equilibrium, which is expressed in reverence. And then when this state of equilibrium is reached, it will be ready to accept the one ray that will reach the heart or the fourth state of the germ. So this is an important thought, that the heart in this context and during this period is the fourth state of the germ. So that's why the fourth shloka. So this is how everything is intertwined. And then, when this happens, the inner potency of the vital force, it becomes the first form of the unformed. And as soon as this happens, then the heart throws down the ray, so differentiates it into the bowels of Maya as 3 into 4. And this is the sevenfold light of the one ray. On these realms, on these 3 realms of planes of existence, this is what happens. This is how we can understand one ray in the sevenfold that gives us that impulse that per action when 3 falls into 4. This marriage happens, and before the moment of equilibrium, the partial Pralaya is completed. And this can be called the dawn of Manvantara. And these are waves. So at the moment when Pralaya and Manvantara become a single period, a great equilibrium happens. And then Matripadma, or the bowel of nature, becomes susceptible to the imprints of divine thought. Because after all, the germ is eternal, and it is always there in Pralaya and Manvantara. He is 3. But when one ray touches it, it becomes 4. What does it mean? So the germ, from its potential form of 3, becomes a life force, 4. And this is not the heart of Matripadma. It's being touched by the ray, and it opens and accepts this ray and gives it away, like a sevenfold light. And then the great differentiation begins. It differentiates, and these 3, father, mother, and son, turn into 4. So this is the union of these 3 principles depends on the 4. And 4 is life. 4 radiates from the peaks of the unattainable to become diffused in all substance, in all manifested planes of being. And this is just a brief description of the event. And now let's try to understand some of the key points and concepts of Helena Blavatsky. So the 4th shloka is the description of the 4th state of the germ, so the heart. And the 4th is the aura of the universe, its light in its purest, because the first septenality of light, its ideal in its purity, its unearthly beauty. There is no admixture of light reflection. So it's a dense shade of color. Therefore, the aura appears white or transparent, colorless. So in the first septenary, when there is where it's absolutely pure, and it's the first base of 7 primary colors, and the aura of this period has perfect primary colors, and their correlation gives different shades and combinations of basic tones of the first 7. So the logos becomes a tetragrammaton, and the triangle or 3 becomes 4. So what happens to light at this moment? There is a reduction of light, and this reduction is necessary for the power of its manifestation. So for light to manifest, it needs to be reducted. And then this impulse of reduction gives it an impulse of manifestation. And the basis of it is Kadmon. Kadmon is the first, it's the basis. And only the limitation of the first reduction of light works in it, unlike the lower planes of existence, where the second reduction works. So the first reduction is Kadmon, and the second is Hadam Kadmon. The heavenly Edmund Kadmon is the Sefer tree, is the prototype of humanity. And on the plane of human perception, there are 10 Sephiroth that carry the 7 rays of Sephiroth, or Ephirium. And Edmund Kadmon is in the bosom of Maya, the great illusion, and has between itself and reality the astral light, the great seducer of man's limited senses. And how Helena Petrovna writes in the Secret Doctrine, unless knowledge through Paramafatsaya comes to his aid. So Adam Kadmon manifested in the Logos.
In other words, the light of the world, Logos 2 and 3, is gradually thickening shadows. These thickening shadows are of the second and of the third Logos. Adam Kadmon is the original man, a perfect being whose form is formed by 10 Sephiroth, and together they form the tree of life. The tree of life of the Sephiroth is growing with its branches towards the lower point, and they are the Sephiroth tree is directed in the opposite direction, and it grows with its branches down. At the top is the root of all things. This is the creator. From him the energy descends to man, passing through the Sephiroth, interconnected by paths, lines, or rays. This leaves would fall off when the cycle comes, but the root will remain and give new shoots and leaves, give new lives. The first Adam Kadmon, heavenly, is a synthesis of the 10 Sephiroth. Of these, Zappa triad resides in the world of prototypes as the future trinity, while the 7 lower Sephiroth create the manifested material world. And this is sevenfold, and it is the second Adam Kadmon, or earthly one. At the very beginning, there must be something that has overcome the great void, and the light or deity could manifest through 10 Sephiroth. What can overcome this emptiness? Only the spirit can overcome the void, the emptiness. What is the spirit of the deity? It's Ensof, it's the spirit of the emptiness that overcame this emptiness. Ein Sof Aur is the limitless light, when the deity created light by act of its will, and thus separated the darkness. However, it just created the light, and in this case, the light was created and the darkness became separate. However, this was not yet the creation of the material world, since these 3 words mean what is called the 3 veils of nothingness. These are the 3 planes of the spirit beyond forms. We can see how these veils can be separated and can be manifested as light from darkness. That's how the absolute is reflected, manifested in the space, and that's how the secret doctrine starts. Ein Sof, limitless, is the deity emanating and spreading. This hidden unity is Ein Sof, infinite, boundless, without being, as long as the absolute remains inside eternity or Parabrahman. Ein Sof cannot be the creator or even the shaper of the universe. Therefore, Ein Sof is also darkness. This is the only unified state. It's infinite, absolutely limitless. It cannot desire, think, or act. And to do this, it must become finite in order to start acting. And it achieves it by means of its ray, penetrating into the mundane egg or infinite space, proceeding from it as finite God. And that's interesting. The ray that touches its infinite space in this limitless world egg penetrates it and proceeds from it as finite God. And finite God is the finite state. And all this is given to the ray, hidden in the one. When the time comes, the absolute will naturally spreads the power contained in it, according to the law, the inner and ultimate essence of which it is. And it's an interesting phrasing, the ultimate entity of the law. What is it? The ultimate entity is the form. That's it. It means that each form is the ultimate of the essence. And essence is not the form. We can apply it to the human evolution, to the great day we've been through, to the sequence of manifestations in which a human being is born. We are attached to the form, and by doing so, we create the ultimatum to our essence, and we stop giving the warmth, the ray of warmth of happiness. And non-form is non-form because it has this power of manifestation. It's the power of penetrating any form. By what means? By this light, by this state, which cannot be the ultimate for anyone and for itself as well, because it is within itself and it is equal to itself. And it's equal to the absolute state of light. That's why we cannot talk about ultimatum here. And we can apply this thought to our everyday life. At sensitive points of our life that all of us go through, we can stop this spinning of this 5-point star. It's the great art of Leonardo da Vinci, by Leonardo da Vinci. It's one of the manifestations of Rerich, and it can be spinned by getting dissolved, and it can be dissolved when our own reflection of the form, that is the ultimate of the essence, gets dissolved, and that's how it creates. Ein Sof can neither be comprehended nor have a definite place, nor can be named, although there is the causeless cause of everything. Hence the name Ein Sof, denoting negation. Inscrutable, unknowable, and unspeakable. In other words, it's a boundless circle. It's not a boundless circle, not a sphere. And Elena, as in her Secret Doctrine, says, close your eyes and from your consciousness try to direct the thought into space in all directions to the extreme limits. And you will see that equal lines of rays of consciousness extend evenly in all directions, so that the extreme effort of representation will end with the arch of the sphere. The limitation of the sphere will inevitably be a large circle, and the direct rays of thought in any direction must form straight lines, the radii of the circle, and therefore, this, humanly speaking, should be an extremely comprehensive concept of the manifested Ein Sof, which is formulated in the form of a geometric figure, namely a circle with its elements of an arcuate circle and a rectilinear diameter divided into radii. Consequently, the geometric figure is the first way to comprehend the connection. Which connection? The most important one between Ein Sof and human mind. Here we can see this connection by direct rays. When we are in doubts, when we do not want something, when we get focused on the ultimate forms, we lose the straight lines, we lose this connection, we become senseless, we become crazy, we act in a crazy way without any sense. The great circle should start acting, and how can we do that? We need to retain this connection, the straight lines. And today, this thought is very relevant. We had tension, and we just had a phone call with someone, and we had a question from another side of the ether. Did something happen? And at that moment, you became warmer. You became the light, and the light as if went through you, because in this question you heard that that there was understanding, that there was someone's warmth and participation, and the reflection of the light was created immediately. It's the interchange of psychic energy. It takes place whenever and wherever we are. This light penetrates you in no time, and this point of time is important. Why? You're not alone. There are always at least two people. We have two in our heart, in our soul, in the higher manus, in the consciousness. There are always two. Why is it important? Why the interchangeable of the female and male principles are important? It's the universal law of nature. Parabrahman becomes Brahma. The female aspect gets the male aspect, and these radii are the rays, and these are the lines, the direct connection. And Pragma starts the evolution. It connects these two major principles. How this universal eternal love is created, and this love is created and it manifests its direct line, and that's why we have the appearance of Jesus Christ, who said, what is the main aspect of the evolution? Everything is love. And that is the huge circle that we can see on the screen. It is reduced to Eastern esoterism to a point inside the boundless circle. It's Avalokiteshvara, logos or verb. That's what we can see in the comment of doctrine of Blavatsky. What can we use for ourselves and for our general understanding? What is Avalokiteshvara? It's this synthesis. And he was the first Buddha and Logos, the beginning of the evolution of the mind. The unknown and the nameless, it couldn't be manifested. It was presented as revealing the manifested forces. It's one of the major attributes of Avalokiteshvara. And in this mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, It's also pronunciated. Avalokiteshvara, logos, or the verb, are in the synthesis. What is the synthesis of the three Syanubud? We know about the stairs of the evolution of the planes of existence that Elena gave us. Where is Dhyani Buddha? Where is the seventh point? It's the second plane. The first plane is antagonical. In the center, we can see, in the center of the star, we can see the synthesis of the seven Dhyani Buddha. It's the only concept of the hierarchy of light, and it is developed so that we would be able to see the density of light and the responsibility for each plane of existence that we can touch upon, that a human being can achieve. And in the concept of the cosmic genesis, there is no division into hierarchies.
And in general, in the system of this system, there exists Anikoga, Malusya Buddha, all of this. These are onkogan. They have a certain density of manifestation at their life in the lower materials, in the dense materials, which comes during differentiation more and more. So, Om Mani Padma Hum, this is the complex mantra. It shows the manifestation of the spiritual heavenly man, Avalokiteshvara. Om means all, everything. When we say Om, that's it. We unite everything together. Money is jewels. Om Mani, all the jewels have been collected into one. Flourish, that is the blooming lotus. We have collected all these jewels into one. And this is the blooming lotus. Here it is. It is our spirit. It has become blooming. It is a tear. When a tear of enchantment appears, it is not suffering. It is the tear of Avalokiteshvara. It appears when the person practices Om Mani Padma, when they have collected all the jewels into this blooming lotus, and a tear appears. It has a triple structure, and it cleanses the heart. It opens and cleanses the heart. And what is or the heart? An open heart. Om Mani Padme Hum, pronounced in one syllable 6 times, most complex mantra, which reflects the notion of Avalokiteshvara. This tear opens. This heart becomes warm. It opens up. Now, this is how, if the Avalokiteshvara was the first logos in this concept, at the same time with the evolution of the eternal mind. This is what Helena Blavatsky wrote. Now let us see what is the correlation with the mind, or the primordial mind. It is an identic notion, and it's a metaphysical concept which envisages the main feature of being and its formation in the universe. Because Om remains, what is Om? It's the primordial mind. It includes being, which happened before the concept of mind. You see, it is an amazing notion. The universal mind, the primordial mind, includes all the creation which already happened in the universe. And this concept had not yet been manifested. Everything is manifested. The primordial mind, we know that it can never be understood. Because what can be understood? It cannot be perceived, because it cannot be limited to a certain place. And therefore, it might remain nameless and negative. Same as Ein Sof, which we mentioned so much today, the unnamed. It doesn't have a name, because the first name which will happen in the universe will be the name of God. All the rest is not named notion. And these unnamed notions are the ones which open the doctrines of Yelena Blavatsky. These are the names which basically turns over the human mind, expands it. And there's a totally different understanding, perception of light, of the form. In this case, when the person understands the secret doctrine, the person sees it is impossible not to see what happened, not through the prism of universal labor. It's not possible to see it not through the prism of the system which determines the primordial cause. You can only see any manifestation, the movement of the word in your life. You can analyze and compare only through this system. That is why people suggest, do not make your conscience dirty. Do not run to different sources and get one of the components. It is useless, it is stupid, and it stupefies the mind, which does not have permeation. It changes the heart energy, and the heart opens up. And then this mind can be fully reflected. So these manifestations of the unknown have been shown as the revealing and manifesting force. Therefore, we can make a conceptual conclusion and a certain key issue that the human mind should and can deal only with its emanations, with the emanations of the initial mind, the primordial mind. And this is what we did. It's a reflection of its own state of mind. If we say today there's another notion of it is the para-Brahman, which is beyond this. It's one plane higher up. And the sensor rod is manifested. And who is the avatar of these forces, which from the unnamed and unknown become manifested forces? Adam Kadmon is an avatar of this force. How does this happen? First, this tetrade happens, then this quadrilateral with the Pythagorean number, and we can speak about the perfect square, and finally, the hexagonal cube on Earth. And this is the trajectory of light. And when we speak of the first cause, which corresponds to the Immaculate Conception, this is one of the discoveries when this notion, there is no third force, by the way. When duality is manifested, this is what we can determine by a dense plane of a person's conscience. But then it did not, it was not conceived. What happened? A full reflection, a turnover. There was no duality. There was no triality. It all happened inside. That is, it's a unique force. And this is the only thing which can help understand this expression, the Immaculate Conception. So the spiritual Nadam creates and manifests, the deity manifests through the earthly Sephiroth. And Yelena gives the following numbers. She says that the changes, or human, Yehola, she speaks it in Latin, it equals man Yehovah is equal to, she gives the formula, 113 times 5, if we multiply it, we get 565. And then if we add up all these numbers, 5, 6, and 5, we get the number 16. And by once again adding up 1 and 6, we get, of course, 7. But this is a dead formula, which we use. So what? So what? What can we see in this? Let us try to look. 113, the first two numbers, 11, they're 2 and they're equal. 11, 1 and 1 is 1. It's a full correlation of two equal forces. When this happens, this full joining of two forces, then these two give birth to a third one. 1 and 3. And this is what happens. The movement of the cross, they give the birth of the third or 10. Now, 5 is a symbol of humans, and it is based on 7. They are manifest in 7, the Sephiroth form. But when we get to these numbers, then the number becomes a light, vital prey. Why is that so? We need to open as it begins to move. It has its own movement in life. You are this number. How you understood it now? This is the way it is, and this is true. This is the truth. One cannot argue with it. Not somebody else who will see it through their own individual mode. And there will never be a contradiction. It never contradicts. Because when we work in one direction, we have a system of document letter. We try to create. There can be no arguments. There can be pure happiness of mutual exchange of psycho-energy, which can only give warmth, the exchange of this warmth. So, two principles in humans, the movement of cross and the movement of movement. 3 or 10 or array. And another formula which Elena writes in the comments, 565. It is 56.5 multiplied by 10. What does it mean? 5 and 6 make 11, as we remember, and 5 is the symbol of human. Two principles in humans give birth to the third. And who is that? What is multiplied by 10? It's a ray. It acts. It becomes full. We know that this is the manifestation of a ray. Each ray is septagonal. And these three hold the focus of this ray, and they do not change. They remain unchanged. Billions of rays, unique rays, have different trajectories. And there are three foci. So when we speak about the esoteric movement, what is it? In 3 unmanifested planes, it happens. In 3 unmanifested volumes of the first volume. We speak about this, hoping that this is the manifestation which remains unchanged. That's it. So it comes to the following. There is a form and there is a non-form. There is internal and external. There is a blending and the birth of a symbol. The fourth of the manifestation. And as soon as they blend together into one, this notion can be manifested in the fourth formula. And we are speaking now that we are in the fourth shloka.
We are living through this form, and we are living through the basic concepts of that. So forms are conceivable. They are members of one whole. The several form is the form of the perfect being, the original man. And the correspondence of individual sephiroths with the outer parts of the human body are as follows. Keter is a brow, Hoch and Bina are 2 eyes, Chesed and Gura are two hands, Tiferet is chest, and Netzach are hips, and Yesod and Malchuk are two legs. That is all. So this is true. So you see the 10 sephiroths, or one ray of this highest principle, has a perfect reflection within the human bodies. When those three became united, when they became the balance, they keep those bases, and they themselves manifest themselves in these bases. They are not chaotic, they are undivisible. We see the whole picture here, and we see the rules of manifestation, all those rules we see here, the basic law of equality that Madame Blavatsky mentions. We understand what we are talking about. So the earth is Malkuth. We can understand it as 7 plus 4, which is equal to 11. What is 11? They are two legs of this human being. It is not just an animal. It turned from the horizontal plane to the vertical line. It almost became consciousness. It can act and go. It stopped crawling, and it moved from the cyclical level to another one. We can compare it with the races. We can ponder about that, about this equation and the evolutional processes. And this man became 11, or X. It's the human and the secret human. And it will reveal all these secrets when it starts moving. That's how 3 fall into 4. This is the formula of movement. And that's how it becomes macrocosm becomes microcosm. The deity manifests through 10 sephiroths, decade for units and 3 twos. That is how we can consider this trajectory, how they are manifested within this geometrical triangle. We can have a point here, and it would be abstract. It will be the manifestation of this triangle. It will be absolute, but here we see reflection. Sephiroths of the highest triad are Keter, Chokhmah, and Bina, crown, wisdom, and mind. You can see on the picture. They are spread here, and in its manifestation, they will be different. A female principle will be mind, and the male principle will be wisdom. But in the reflection, it will be different. So this is the combination of female and male principle. This is the very important merge of energies. They change their roles and become united. We can see here the ideas of Atma, Buddhi, and Manas. And according to the planes of beings, 7 sephiroths on the plane of manifestation are as follows. The deity manifests through 10 sephiroths, decades, 4 units, and 3 twos. You can see it. They are combined now. That is, 3 fall into 4. What appears? The great heart, the heart of the God. The 3 and 4 is a ray symbolizing movement of logos. This is a transition into the form of the movement of light. The movement shows of the sevenfold nature of each plane. And then the next plane appears. The plane of the spirit is beyond forms, the plane of prototypes, the plane of mind and creativity, the subtle and physical plane. So the foundation of all those planes are those 3 that we are talking about, especially in this Sloka and Stanza, because those 3 already are combined, and they formed the foundation for that, and they keep those foundation. That's how the fourth state appears. Madame Blavatsky in the comments mentions the Pythagorean triangle as an expression of this idea, 3, 4, and 4. So let's look at the variants of this idea. The Pythagorean triangle corresponds to the planes of being. One plane, the second, the third, the fourth, they are combined, and again, 3 fourths into 4. Each of the sides of the triangle also can turn into 4, 3 into 4. And we can see that each corner of the triangle also combines. 3 combines into 4, falls into 4. So light is the ultimate truth. It arises when a person's limited feelings disappear and when knowledge comes. The astral light is the greatest seducer of a man's limited senses, unless knowledge comes to his aid. So knowledge, the Paramatasaya, supreme truths, is absolute existence. Until the knowledge of the supreme truths comes to the rescue, until the astral light will be the seducer of man's limited senses. So this is the key point of the sloka. So we see that the knowledge of an absolute truth comes to our help, to our rescue. And it comes through an amazing thing. We see the complexity. It cannot be the truth because this complexity is not simplicity. What is simplicity? It is truth. It is simple all the time. That is why we say that when something is smart, it is simple. We can see it as a reflection. When we find something from the multiplicity to the simplicity, then we can mention the ideas, the kind ideas, and we can speak from our heart. So after the secret doctrine, we can use the ideas of yoga that reveals the secrecy of the complexity. So it is revealed through the work on yourself, through the self-development, on work on your own manifestation, by making complex things simple. And when we apply that, we understand that it is simple. Until applied, it looks to us very complex. And that is why we need to strive to the following, so that our mind can perceive this manifestation through our everyday life, and we should strive for truth. The next key point of the whole sloka is on the slide. When the heart is opened, and until then, knowledge as the absolute existence of supreme truth can be recognized by the higher ego. It leads to the liberation of Maya. We see what leads to that. Knowledge as the absolute truth, supreme truth, that can be recognized by the higher ego, which means not lower ego, not by self-respect, but through the higher manifestations of this state. And then the astral light ceases to be seducer as the limited feelings of a person disappear, and the astral light shines with its pristine purity of the first sevenfold. Her heart had not yet opened for the one ray to enter, thence to fall as free into four into the lap of Maya. Yes, the heart of Matripadma had not yet opened because the one ray didn't enter into the germ. But when the ray pierces the germ, it will hope to open the heart of Matripadma through the creative power. And creative power is essentially psychic energy, which means combination of consciousness. And it removes obstacle on the path of acquisition and mastery. Mental energy has the power that carries to the goal. It is the God, the creator, who created the triple universe, because he doesn't see himself, but he sees his own incarnation like him. So mental energy is primordial, and the special fire is infinite, eternal. Mental energy has this triple power or grain of fire. So when it manifests, it is like the spatial, infinite, eternal fire. It is hidden in the heart of Matripadma. And when the time comes, according to the law of evolution, it will manifest, or it will be cast down as free info into the balls of Maya. Thank you so much.
So yeah, this was our material. Thank you very much for remaining in this energy. I hope you understood everything, all the key points that we've tried to convey today. So we have some time, 20 minutes for your questions. I see that we have a lot of questions. They're in the chat and also in our WhatsApp and in other sources that we have. So let's try to answer these questions. If we don't have enough time to answer them, we will publish our answers later. First, we will start with the questions to Mr. Yari. So the first question, can astral light be considered the heart of nature? So astral light can be characterized as a material. So the characteristics of pure astral light as when it manifests through a human form, through our human consciousness, it becomes foggy as a foggy sense. So that's how it manifests itself. But I can say that it's nature. But the heart of nature, I would allocate to spirit, to magnet. A spirit and the material form, they're the magnet of the heart. And astral light is a lucid material. Thank you for your question. The next question from our chat, where can I find the book or a description that tells about color chakra? What is it? So it was created by Vladimir Anatольевич Bakanov based on the Secret Doctrine. So this color chakra is a scheme based on the book by Helena Petrovna. So all the descriptions and main aspects we will send you to your email. So please write your email in the chat and we will send it to you. So about the astral light. So the great seductor of our limited senses and wisdom should come to help. The astral light, it purifies and allows the wisdom to come through the dense layers of material. And that's how transparent becomes visible. And this is the main purpose of the astral light. It allows to turn hidden things visible, to manifest themselves, but only at the point when wisdom or knowledge allows them to do it. The next question. So, existence before cosmos implicates the power that allows us to understand ourselves. Is it so? Yeah, I think that this is a potential that becomes a nomen. A nomen can manifest only at a specific time. That this ability to manifest at a specific time is an understanding of time. This is the freedom we have as people from time that manifests in human creativity and human genius in manus. And while it's latent, at some point it becomes conscious, then it starts to think, and thinking is leads to intuition and sense of knowledge. We also have comments from the participants of the conference. The person writes that you think, Evgenia, that all of us in the West or India understand the Tibetan circle of life. Well, at first, it's not the Tibetan wheel of life, it's the calendar of Kalachakra that we are using in our conference. You understand that when we talk online, we are not trying to prove anything. We are working with the material that we already have. And you can take this knowledge and understand this idea that we are giving. You've mentioned that you know that you follow the conferences of Pablo Sanders, and we're familiar with Pablo Sanders. He was a participant of our conference. And you know, it's interesting that when you're working with this material and you find something new, and you want to share this research, and we are discovering something new every day. It's great that you know the material that Pablo Sanders have explained to you, but what have you understood from the seminars, from the Secret Doctrine? I will also add that you know yourself. You know yourself to some extent, but Kalachakra is just a path. The Kalachakra is a door on the path. It's a scheme with information. So it's a door that allows you to enter the depths of yourself. And Kalachakra is a microcosm and microcosm, it's just a reflection of us. So the latent existence before cosmos. HPP has already explained what that is. This is an absolute, and potentially it contains all of the forces, and person can understand himself or herself with this energy, those energies. And the next question about the unseen prakila mentioned by HPB in the fourth shloka is the unseen prakil. Is it a synthesis? What is it? The unseen prakil is the primordial existence of the force of nature, of the element of nature. And this condition of the spirit and the material. There is an idea that exists on all the planes of existence. And this image, pre-image, reflect the material. So this is how the forms would manifest themselves in the future in all of their differences. We can also say that the unseen pratil is a primordial substance that Pyan Kogana, in accordance with the laws of evolution, have created the solar system, have weaved it into existence. I can also add that there is an ethereum that reflects our sun. The impulses of the sun every 11 years give us this ethereum, this information for manifestation. So there's planes of the images, and the sun that we're seeing is reflected sun. So this is how it works. The next question. So the differentiated objectiveness, is it connected to realization as our ability to analyze things, the condition of objectiveness? So differentiating things allows us to go along this path. So even in this question, the ability to analyze is an ability of the mind, of our conscious, that already divides united things. So it's our ability to compare things. It's a comparing experience. You can analyze when you have something to compare to. And when it's not divided, you You can't do that. You don't have an analytical experience. The next question. So fohatic imprints are connected to the Maya, and you going into it. The fohatic imprints, you can see them only as a creative force. If you have awakened your creative ability and responsibility, and only in that case we can see fohatic imprints, the condition when you're able to understand the divine thought. It gives a space for manifestation. So this is a condition of space. And our next question is, what kind of force makes your heart open to one ray? You meet the force. This is the force of understanding and accepting. What is consciousness? It's when you can understand abstract ideas and you can use them in context. So the one ray is what creates these conditions, which are called understanding. Understanding caused by your reflections. This is what leads to consciousness. And of course, the heart accumulates all of the forces. When we are talking in this aspect, speaking about Malaprakti, this is the root of the material. And Akasha is reflected in this way. So Malaprakriti is the divine female principle. And this is the aspect of Parabrahma. It's not differentiated. And when we talk that the heart is a synthesis, we need another force. This is Vahata, the male force. This is the point between the seen and unseen. This is when the spirit falls into the material plane, when it gives an impulse to life. And either it's a destructive or a purging force, a creative force. But it all depends on the consciousness. The next question. If Matripadma becomes susceptible in equilibrium, so reverence comes to you when the time strikes. Well, to be reverent, you need to grow in order not to be too fanatic. So you need some time. And someday you will have a true reverence. I think this is a condition that is created when the material is ready to be reverent to the spirit. So this is the equilibrium. It's alaya and pralaya. This is the moment between unseen and seen, visible and invisible. And this condition of space, this ray that goes through and touches the heart. So this is when a mind is able to synthesize information, to identify things in reality. Then this person will be able to use different terms. So this is a synthetic condition when one ray is created and creates a magnet that attracts fire. And fire contains colorless light. So when you hear the word rainbow, for example, so is there, until the time comes, what do you do? because you know it comes in different types. So I hope, yeah, you already answered this question, but I can also add that in its differences comes the hour. So if you were born at a certain year, so the year of the white dragon, there is also a dog. So sometime you will have conversion of these points. So everything is
So only the unprepared human consciousness can perceive it as unpredicted, unknown. Yeah, but when we have its peak of expression and emotion, we can consider it as a transformation. And in that case, this awakening becomes real. We can see its awakening as something real. You need to be you need to act step by step. You need to make errors and learn from that. And by learning our lessons, we become better. We strive for a better self. We change ourselves and we can update our karma. It opens and something new happens that is related to other cycles with other understanding of time and other things. And love comes in that case. We mentioned cycles here, and I need to mention the psychology that is related to the doctrine. This type of psychology is very well expressed through time and through the wheel of time. So it's the end of our session. Unfortunately, we were not able to answer all the questions, but we will reply later. Thank you so much for your interest to the Secret Doctrine. Thank you so much, our interpreters who helped us, and thank you for understanding. Thank you, our technical team, and all those who helped to create the slides and animations. Alexander Kuleshov, Alexander Brezhnev, Maxim Igorov, Yuri Butin, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for creating this connection to the whole world. Our next session will be on the 15th of December. You can also find all the related materials. We will send you additional teaching materials. So thank you so much.
The Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky. Dedicated to all true Theosophists. Book of the Third Millennium.
Blavatsky only knew.